Hello, 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 my beautiful seekers and finders. Welcome to the Way of Truth number 47. These are our bi-weekly satsangs with me, yours truly. My name is Artem Boycev. I'm a spiritual teacher. This is my website. Yes, that's my website, so please feel free to check it out. It contains a large collection of my writings on the topic of awakening, spiritual enlightenment, and we also have a YouTube channel with lots of videos there. And in this satsangs, I answer questions from my students. I answer questions from those seeking the truth. I answer questions from those who are on the spiritual path and undergoing the transformation. We share our experiences. So if you would like to participate, if you would like to speak, then I highly encourage you to join this satsang via StreamYard. I will post a link in just 1 second, so hold on. So yes, so that's the best way to participate. The link is posted to both YouTube and Facebook in the comments section, and it's also in the description of the event. So this is by far the best way to participate. I highly encourage everyone to participate this way. It's a browser-based software, StreamYard. All you need is a browser, so you just follow this link. Here it is once again. And you'll end up in my guest room. Sorry, and I will be able to bring you on stage and we can have a conversation. So Buddha's Dojo says, hello, happy to be here. Hello. And so I highly encourage everyone to participate this way, but if you do not wish to show your face and speak in person, then you can also submit comments and questions to both YouTube and Facebook. We are broadcasted on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And speaking of a live participation and physical presence, we still have a couple of spots left on our April retreat on April 25th, 25th to 28th. We're going to host a wonderful retreat in Oregon House, California. It's about 1 hour drive from Sacramento, about 3 hour drive from Bay Area. So it's going to be a beautiful, intimate gathering. We mostly do energy work, emotional work on our retreats. We meditate, of course. There's lots of meditation, other workshops. We practice eye gazing, radical honesty, deep, intimate conversations, and some other workshops. So you can actually read the description of our workshops. Let me do this really quickly. You can read the description of our workshops on my website. So let me post a link to that. And it also contains some pictures from our retreats along with some testimonials. So if you have never been, so that's the URL. So if you have never been to our retreats, I highly recommend. If you've been following me for a while and you can come, of course not everyone can, I understand. Then I highly recommend you joining. It's a beautiful, moving, tremendously moving experience for the vast majority of people, and for most people who have been on our retreats, it was a turning point on their spiritual journey. So it's very easy to underestimate the value of physical presence and the value of gathering together with fellow practitioners on the spiritual path to actually experience those things that we're talking about, that we're discussing, that we're learning to do, the self-love, unconditional acceptance, understanding of our own struggle and psyche and difficult things that we had to endure in life. Spiritual awakening is a difficult process. It can be a very difficult process. So in this process, we have to directly face our fears. We have to directly face our traumas. We have to find the ocean of compassion and love that each of us carries inside of us, and experience how it's applied to both us and other people around us, to both us and every other human being. And it's an extraordinary transformative force. So, spending a few days in such an environment can be extraordinary, moving, and a very important experience. So, once again, we still have a couple of spots left. If you are interested, then you can contact me on Discord, or my wife Katya, who organizes and manages those retreats. You can also send me an email or contact me through any social media on which I'm active, so Facebook, Instagram. So Olga Blaga is asking, do you plan to have a retreat in Europe this year? Yes, we actually do plan. We plan to have a retreat in Europe in July, most likely. And most likely is going to be in Finland. So we haven't finalized the place yet. But uh, so we have an offer from one of our long-term students to help organize it in Finland, and it's a beautiful country, gorgeous nature, especially in summer. It's such a beautiful place. So most likely it's going to be there. I mean, Finland is actually quite easily travelable. Oh, sorry, not Finland. I meant to say Europe. It's very easy to travel in Europe. There are trains, so pretty much any country in Europe would be quite easily accessible for most of my European students. So most likely it's going to be. Uh, oh, okay. So that's just to the topic. So Finland is quite far from me. If it's in Central Europe, that I meant. Well, I understand, but as I was saying, there are trains in Europe. It's not very expensive to travel in Europe. Last time we had a retreat in France, and most of our participants traveled by train. So we'll take a look, and how far Finland is. We understand that it's not a central location, but we'll see. We'll see. So okay. So let's see what we have. What we have now in terms of comments. Yeah, so we don't have anyone in the guest room right now. So last time we had 60 people watching the Satsangs. Right now it's only 17. It oftentimes happens after I take a long break. So I had a break from Satsang for about 1 month, and so now we have a slightly lower attendance. Anyway, if anyone is watching, again, please feel free to join via StreamYard. Andrew is asking, "Hi Artem, how are you?" I'm great, thank you very much. So if you have any questions, please let me know. So the Art of Reason from the Heart says, maybe I'm in Finland as well. I have friends there. Yeah, why not? So please come. You will have a good time. Okay, so we have Melly, who has joined as a guest. Let me bring Melly on screen. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm okay. How about you?
Good. Thank you.
I thought I'd just join since no one's here.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, well, I guess I'll share some of my experience.
Yes, please.
So today it's been very different because my whole view is now just on nonviolence,
Mm,
just mm, no violence towards myself and no violence towards others, and
beautiful.
everything just is that. Like there doesn't, so far nothing else has come in or out, so to speak. It's all just been that. um,
Beautiful.
yeah, and I just got a good view out of my window. It was
Beautiful.
really good. Yeah.
Beautiful. This is wonderful. Yes. This is very important. Yes. All our violence, all human violence that all the violence that humans are so, predisposed to, that we see so much of in our culture and in our history, comes from the unresolved pain. So as we on the journey start resolving our pain, as you know from your own experience, it happens by experiencing our pain. We invariably also arrive to the view of no violence, because this violence, the violence that we carry in our hearts, is the manifestation of our anger and resentment. And I know you've gone through a lot of that.
Yeah, I'm going through some right now. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it is these ideas that uh, which are wrong, which are fundamentally very deluded, but that are unfortunately also predominant in our culture, that the way to deal with anger and resentment is to fix something in the outside world, to punish someone, including ourselves, including ourselves. You know,
Can I say
oh
something?
yes, please, please.
Um, I think the point of like conclusion was after I heard a phrase on a TV series called Westworld. It was something like the desire of violence leads to violent ends, or something like that. But violence leads to a violent end. And my experience with my mind has been the most intense when the dream is about killing and raping and all kinds of chaotic expressions. Um, and yeah, like the foundation of the whole like misunderstanding of that dream being somehow something that I need to prepare myself to for the potential risk of it being real. And it seems that any kind of treatment that I put onto myself, which is violent, is paradoxically me trying to fix an environment where that violence doesn't occur.
Yes, yes,
So I'm violent when I'm trying not to be
yes,
violent.
yes, yes. We are. The more we repress something, the more we suppress it, the more we get out of it. And I'm glad that you mentioned the violent dreams. I mean, I've had also a tremendous amount of experiences in dreams and meditations. Like in some of my meditations, I killed thousands of people. It was so, and literally, like, running around with chainsaw. I killed myself. I dismembered my body in meditations so many times. So all of this is just a manifestation of the mind's desire for revenge, and the mind's anger. So the suppressed emotions, they start manifesting in very kind of vivid ways on during the spiritual transformation. So it's completely normal. So everyone who's listening, if you are experiencing in meditations or in dreams or in psychedelic trips, if you are experiencing very very violent narratives, very violent stories in which you are doing harm, killing, yourself or other people, it does not mean, as Melly said, it does not mean that this is something that's going to happen. It does not mean that this is something that you should do. It is just literally visual manifestation of suppressed anger and resentment.
And all the feelings will come up. There will be fear, there will be anger, there will be sadness. At
Yes,
the end of it all, there will be
exactly,
laughter, um,
exactly, exactly.
as I've experienced in calls with you as well.
Precisely, precisely. So anger is kind of the very first outwardly facing reaction to mistreatment. So on the spiritual path, we deal with denied, repressed, and rejected mistreatment. We basically deal with the reactions to this world that we have not expressed. And so the very first layer is usually anger, resentment, and it then transmutes, morphs into sadness and grief, and there's laughter and freedom and lightness after that too. I'm very happy for you, my friend.
Thank you. I'm happy too.
Enjoy.
Yeah. Uh, I still have a lot of fear, um, and I still have a lot of like moments where I'm in and out.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm always observing. I'm always like it's always happening. Um, and yeah,
Great. Beautiful.
so I'm
There,
looking
there's
forward to the rest of it.
Yeah, there's going to be many more interesting things. Uh, Witnessing the mind without becoming its slave, without doing something about the mind, is the most tremendous transformative power. So that's why I oftentimes say that the most important skill that we develop in the spiritual transformation is witnessing our pain, feeling our pain, witnessing the stories of the mind, whether they take verbal or visual form, like in dreams or meditations, without uh, succumbing to the impulse to do something right away, to do something about our anger, to do something about our fear. And that's the art of the objective observation of ourselves. And this leads to all kind of discoveries.
And it seems um, like um, like this is how we naturally are. Um, we were just very abused.
Yes,
Therefore, we've sort of um, come to have these thoughts,
precisely.
um, which is wild. Uh,
Yes, it's wild. Yes, how far we have departed from yes.
it's crazy.
In our natural state, we actually quite an easygoing kind of chill monkeys. Well, of course, there is some place for violence in nature. Of course, when someone's attacking you, of course, right? But generally
Yeah,
speaking, we're quite easygoing, chill monkeys, not very much predisposed to violence. When everything is fine, we kind of very very easygoing creatures in the natural state, and we have departed to it from such an extent that you look at the history of humanity, and it's basically the history of conflict and murder.
I've sort of come to sort of look into the many times that I thought of when you mentioned that we are prey in nature, and this fundamental, like, almost, I want to say, ancestral fear of being hunted down and preyed upon and hurt. We are really, really weak physically compared to other animals, to predators, that is.
Yes, compared to predators, especially. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like at some point we decided we want revenge on how we've been treated by predators, but it's like an imagination of somehow the I don't know.
I, I,
I'm
I,
steering off.
I think I understand what you're trying to say. I look at it slightly differently. So, kind of, we have when we settled down and we started exploiting nature, and we have generated a lot of excess, and we started the infighting uh, within ourselves about who gets what, and started building hierarchies. We actually have developed our technology. We have developed our power to influence the external world to such an extent that we have mostly become safe from predators. But we started fighting within ourselves, and most of predation that human beings are experiencing right now is coming from each other. Is coming from ourselves. So we are. There are vastly more people, even nowadays. I'm not even talking about like centuries ago, that die at the hands of other people than at any predator. So,
Yeah,
so
I was more interested in like revenge when I was trying to look into this, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, but my the revenge, the feelings of revenge and resentment,
I hear you though.
they
I
mostly
do
directed
agree.
at other people, not at animals.
Yeah, yeah. I understand. It's just something new for any animal to have so much,
Power.
uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
so much of anything at
yeah,
all.
yeah. That's true. That's true. Yeah,
And
but
yeah,
if we were vengeful, if we were actively vengeful towards predators, for example, that we would try to exterminate them all, right? And of course, yes, our fear can run amok,
right.
and we can do that, but but we mostly are busy with fighting
With
each other.
each other.
Yeah, exactly, and simply mercilessly exploiting nature around us without giving a second thought, without even giving a second thought on the harmony of things, that we cannot exploit nature endlessly, for example.
It's like we've imagined that because there's so much, there could be infinite, but there's not an infinite.
No.
And um, but it makes for fun imagination, though. um, but yeah, no more than that, though. Still, there's cool art that comes out of that,
True.
and VR exists. I guess I'm looking forward to trying it out again. I tried it once. Um, that could be fun. Who knows what kinds of worlds we can create in there, and if we can have some kind of um, I guess exploration of what could be even beyond. I don't know if it's all just gonna be a show that ends and we're not gonna get anything out of it other than just the joy of it, or if we're gonna evolve out of that and actually something infinite might come up. I don't think so, but I don't know. I'm not there, so
Hopeful. We'll see.
yeah, yeah.
see. Well, thank you for showing up, my friend. I have a few questions in the comments that accumulated, which I would like to address. And thank you for showing up, and thank you for giving this update. It's a tremendous joy for me to hear that you have been
No.
deeper.
Um,
I
um,
know how much of a struggle your journey has been, and I remember a lot of things. So I've seen you struggle. I have struggled myself. So it's beautiful. It is beautiful that you're getting deeper and deeper connected to your heart, especially
do I have to run now? Do I have to do something?
no, no, just stay with whatever comes. Okay, you don't have to do anything at all. Nothing needs to be done. Nothing is urgent.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree. All right. Um, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I look forward to speaking to you again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Melly. Thank you for coming.
Bye.
All right, so that was Melly. So let me look at what questions I have. So Emmanuel Henniker says, can you tell something about greed? I experienced it lately. Yes. So he says, also experienced this stuff you're talking about, violence and wanting to do horrible stuff. Yes. So that's just what we were discussing with Melly. Know that is completely normal. So speaking about greed, greed is basically an overcompensation for the lack for the feelings of lack, basically. So in the separated state, we feel that there's something we're missing, and what we truly miss, what we truly are missing in the separate state, is the connection with ourselves, is the connection with our heart, is the connection with our being, with our very nature, with life, basically, with the joy of life, with the joy of existence. We have forgotten it. We have forgotten it in our pain. We're lost in our pain, in the unresolved pain. So we begin dreaming. We construct a character that wants to earn this love back, that wants to find this love. But this character is trying to find this love in the external. And greed is a natural kind of misdirection of this search. And it has, in my experience, it has two most frequent underlying motivations. And the first one is, the more I will have, the more successful I am, the more other people will love me. So greed as a kind of a proxy to being viewed as socially successful, because our society worships rich people. I don't know if you have noticed, and it's been getting worse lately. So what we're seeing in the world, actually, in the political landscape during the last few decades, is greed running amok. So greed is more and more running the show. Less and less humanity, less and less cohesion, and more greed, and more inner conflict. So that's one of the biggest motivation. It's the social competitiveness. It's the I need to climb this ladder. And the other, equally as important and just as frequently arising, is the feelings of safety. So there's a lot of fear in the separate state. This actually is not the fear of, in most cases, it's not the fear that is rational in a way, just like, the fear of dying or the fear of hunger can be rational. But that's actually the fear of seeing the ego for what it is. It is the fear of dealing with our pain. It is the fear of enlightenment. It is the fear of living fully. But it gets misdirected. It gets misinterpreted. Not in any dissimilar way as Melly and I just talked about how the violent images can get misinterpreted as, oh, this is something that is going to happen to me. So in the same way that this fear gets misinterpreted into, I need to work very hard for my safety, and this can take form of accumulation of resources, just endless accumulation of resources. But we never feel safe. We never feel safe. So even when in the separate state, so even when we have enough resources, the accumulation continues. So it comes from these two fundamental impulses, and in truth, having more resources after a certain point, having more resources does not make you any happier, and that's also what scientific studies of happiness found. So actually, when we look at the human psyche and our society objectively, that many of the things that I'm saying and other enlightened people are saying come out. Like, for example, that happiness does not depend on the level of wealth in a linear fashion, and it's actually much more dependent how you feel, much more dependent on your relative standing within society. And the societies where people trust each other, more equal societies, are generally more happy. So there's lots of actually scientific data that point to the same direction when it comes to human suffering, human happiness, and human flourishing. So okay, so I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I mean, you will experience on the spiritual path greed as this impulse of the feeling of lack. The truth is in the natural state of consciousness, for as long as you physically comfortable, for as long as your tummy is full and you're not cold, you're absolutely happy and content and peaceful, just like pretty much any animal. So if you look at a cat, that's what an enlightened human being is like. So that's a natural state of things. That's a normal state of things. But because we depart so far, we forget and we misdirect our pain into different things, and greed is one of them. So just notice this impulses in yourself. Greed comes as a painful impulse, also. So it's not just a joyful, creative expression of oh, if I had more resources, then I would be able to create something. I would be able to help someone. I would be able to do something that I want, which is some good for the world, some good for me, some good for my family, some good for other people. No, it comes with a fundamental feeling of I need to fix something, or I need to make myself feel safe, or I need to climb on top of it. I need to earn something. And the truth is that you need to earn exactly nothing. You have already all the love in the world. Just the fact that you're here living and breathing means that the universe approves of you. So so greed is an impulse which you will have to deal with. Yes. Okay, so Arjanit, this is Timeli. Keep releasing fears, brothers. Yes, I agree. So Andrew is saying, that's great to hear. I'm not sure what you're referring to. I wanted to ask a question. Isn't accepting yourself purely subjectively, not objective? Like seeing how all things are subjective, yet we function with objectivity. So not all things are subjective, actually. I mean, of course, we can say that all experience is subjective. So all experience is only there for you to experience it. So from this perspective, we can take a stand that everything is subjective. But the ego is subjective in a fundamentally different sense. The ego is subjective because it is basically misguided. It is basically deluded. It's quite literally wrong. Like, for example, it's quite literally wrong about what will make it happy. It's quite literally wrong about what's the best way to deal with the situation. For example, many people who engage in violence or retribution believe that this makes things better. This very rarely make things better, right? So if you even if you look at the situation with violence objectively, that you can see that if you study it objectively, if you observe it objectively, that you can see that in most cases violence leads to more violence. And that's actually one of the reasons why in our legal system, generally speaking, at least in spirit, right, in essence, is supposed to focus on prevention rather than punishment, because punishment actually doesn't work, right? So the idea behind prisons is not, it's as it's supposed to be, is not to punish someone to by depriving them of freedom. That is actually the mass view, and that's what they have devolved into. Well, I wouldn't say they have devolved into. They haven't evolved out of it, because this is the view that is very difficult for the ego not to take. But generally speaking, from the perspective of reason, the importance of prisons is not to punish someone, but to not allow the person to continue hurting other people. So to isolate them from society for a while, ideally to rehabilitate them, not to punish them. So that actually stems from objective observation that punishment doesn't work, because the further into the past you look at our society, the more unhinged you see the cycles of violence and retribution. So a lot of ideas that the ego harbors about society, about yourself, are literally wrong. They're wrong however you look into them, objectively or subjectively. It actually doesn't matter. They're wrong subjectively at the level of your experience. Like, you try the same thing, for example, with chasing for happiness. So you try to achieve something, you try to attain something, the happiness doesn't come. Over the course of many years, you finally understand that you're doing something wrong. And then you start looking inwards. That's a kind of a spiritual journey for many people, and they also wrong objectively when you study the human behavior objectively. Let's say through scientific means, you can see a lot of the same ideas being discredited, basically, if you look at it objectively. So yes, there's pure subjectivity of experience, yes. But there is, you cannot say that there is no worldview that is closer to reality. I mean, the interesting thing about reality is that the accurate worldview, the more truthful worldview, is literally much more pleasant worldview. So that's why, truth will set you free. So truth and love is one and the same. Truth and reality is one of the same. The more you separate it from reality by the layers of self-deceit, by the layers of lies, the more painful your existence is. That's actually the meaning of karma. The meaning of karma is in having the wrong views, the mistaken beliefs about reality. We take actions that are against our best interest and against best interests of other people, but much more importantly against our own best interest, and they backfire. That's basically the kind of rational view of what karma is. So karma is wrong action, and it's wrong not in the way of like socially shaming wrong, like you should be this way, you should be this way. It's wrong for you. It's wrong like specifically for you. So So there is certainly a more objective, truthful view on the world and reality. So it's not just all subjective. Solipsism is a stage on the spiritual path. As I often say, solipsism is narcissism, but it's a necessary stage. You can say that every ego is narcissistic in one way or the other. So the very first that happens on the spiritual transformation is the acknowledgement of dreaming. It's like, oh my God, this has all been a dream. So there's a stage where everything is a dream. It's all self-creative. It's all subjective. What it refers to mostly at this stage is the ego-constructed reality. So upon awakening, the ego-constructed reality, the self-constructed reality, kind of springs into view, and there's a very deep subjective feeling that everything you see, that you basically inhabit the dream world, and then the subsequent destruction of this dream world is what the process of spiritual transformation is. And in this destruction, we're getting closer and closer to reality, less and less imagined, less and less inaccurate, less and less informed by suffering view, and more accurate view. Okay. Colore Jazz says, Dear Artem, I have a question. 2 weeks ago, I had my first trip on psilocybin. I cried a lot and then experienced tremendous love. Beautiful. This is wonderful. Congratulations. After the trip, I still feel more alive and joyful. Now I'm thinking that I want to go deeper. Okay, so that's everything that you wrote. Yeah, well, go deeper. So you can do that again. And I also advise meditation practice. So practice meditation. Psychedelics are nothing more than intense and forced meditation. So the same thing will happen in meditation. You can combine the two. You can continue experimenting with psychedelics, and you will continue seeing a lot of stuff. And I also advise you to establish some form of consistent meditation practice. So meditating for I generally advise to aim for something like meditating for an hour and a half or 2 hours, at least 2 or 3 times a week. So this will also bring up the same things, and it will keep, as you're witnessing the mind, and you feel the emotions, and you experience emotional release, you will slowly be moving towards the same direction. This love, this tremendous love that you felt on the trip, is the foundation of your very existence. It's your very existence itself. Existence is love. So Andrew says, nothingness cannot know nothingness. There must be something else to be conscious of that nothing is true. Therefore, there must be something beyond presence and absence, pure presence, pure subjectivity. Okay, this is where I think your logic wears off track. I'm not quite sure. There must be something beyond presence, which is presence. That's what I'm not quite sure I understand. Okay, so yeah, maybe you can expand on this in some other time. Emmanuel says, yeah, I notice I try to accumulate spiritual experiences and relative achievements to finally arrive at a state where I reach my goals and accept myself. Yeah, so it's not about spiritual experiences, and it's not about achievements or attainments. And accepting yourself is not a goal. You see, every goal that we have this fundamental structure of, okay, I will only accept myself when. I will only love myself when. I will only be enlightened when. You see, so that is fundamentally, that is lack of acceptance. It's lack of acceptance of right now. You see, our goals are exactly what prevents us from that. That's why I oftentimes say that meditations is not a goal-oriented activity. Meditation is more like spending time with yourself and start observing how the mind continuously creates goals in its incessant and dissatisfaction with the present moment, and studying this dissatisfaction. So that's what meditation is. It's not a goal oriented activity. So yeah. Okay. So a quick interlude, as I usually do. So first of all, uh, if you like my work, if you've been working with me together, that I ask you, please support me on Patreon, or support me with monthly PayPal donations. I would like to extend gratitude, tremendous gratitude, to those who already do. Thank you very much. It really means a lot, and it allows me to also spend my time with people who cannot pay, who cannot afford anything. So, if you're more fortunate in life, if you have more financial freedom, then by supporting me, by supporting my work, you're also helping those who are much less fortunate in life, and who were born in a much poor country, but who can still reach out, who are on the spiritual path, and it allows me to spend more time with them. So if you can support me, please do. Thank you. And also, please comment, like, subscribe. So hit this bell button to our videos. That also helps us a lot. Invite your friends to our community or retreats, and subscribe to my other social media too, like Facebook and TikTok and other Instagram and other things. So all of this helps me to help more people, to have more impact. There are lots of struggling people on the spiritual path. There are lots of very confused seekers in the spiritual path. It's very difficult to find good quality guidance. So all of this helped me get greater exposure. So I would like to ask you to do that. Thank you very much. And then finally, please feel free to schedule one-on-one sessions with me. I also post a link. Hold on. So that is the link. So please, there's an option if you're financially struggling. There's an option for free session too. So one-on-one conversations are usually more productive than satsangs. And the in-person interactions is even more productive. So if you're in California, please also consider joining our retreat that will be in April 25th, 28th. And you can also visit me at my house. So I live in Redwood City, and I gladly accept visitors. So if you're in California, feel free to just reach out, and you can come spend some time with me. All right. So we have Steve also. Hi, Steve. How are you doing?
Doing? So I had a question. You were talking about the natural state. I wanted to confirm something to see if it's correct. I always like the example of a small child, like a 1-year-old. I think you said, it's safe to say that they're still kind of in the natural state, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And what came to mind is that there is no inner world yet,
Yes.
and therefore they are pointed. Like you said, you can only experience the 5 senses. So that is the natural state, right?
Yes.
And the other thing that I was going to ask is, which is kind of like a fun question, is, do you think that once a child starts to, the ego starts to form at the very beginning, do you think that the 4 levels of dreaming go backwards? And so, like, first you just kind of froze up. First, they're in the natural state, and then they start going backwards all the way to, I don't know, when you're 15 or 18 years old, and then you are completely a slave of society. So it's like, first you're in the natural state, I just imagine I'm like, that would be interesting to even think about, because then the child is natural, and then they're almost natural at the fourth level, and then that's kind of
Yes,
crazy.
yes, and that's why in the spiritual transformation, it feels like you're going back to childhood.
Oh,
Actually. That's why it feels like you're becoming it feels like you're becoming a child again. Actually, it feels
right.
like you're losing your sense of age, kind of the social sense of age. So how like a person with your age needs to behave, and so the interesting thing is that even like the brushes with divinity, when people in the deep state of dreaming, when they're experiencing God, they're actually experiencing themselves. You see,
Oh,
because of course, yes, because it is their own mind, their own brain has created the character. You see, it's just that when it becomes so, when the distance between the creator, which is you, and the creation, which is the ego, becomes so large, and the fear and other resentments and other suppression is so extreme, that the feeling of unity with yourself can only be described as the divine mergence with God, as the mergence with the divine. But the truth is, from the perspective of enlightenment, it's just merging with yourself. It's just coming back to you. You see?
yeah.
So that's why the stories of divinity, the stories, the hero's journey, the stories of Jesus, the sayings such as "You will meet your creator, you will meet your maker." That's why they resonate with so many people. Your creator is literally you. Your maker is literally you. That's why there is no danger. It is safe. I mean, the spiritual journey is safe. It feels as the tremendous fear that comes up is the fear of the ego to let go. Is the fear of the ego to let go into yourself, into love. It's the fear of becoming yourself again. You know.
Yeah, that's incredible. So it's like, you could say that the psychological self, which is the ego, the entity, all different names, the inner world, it's the destruction of the inner world. And then eventually, when if you're able to go full circle, then that's why I think I think it was Frank Yang, and you were talking to him, like, once you're in that state or whatever, if you're looking at something, you are that thing. Like if you're looking at the mountain, it's like you become the mountain, because there's no, is it correct to say there is no subject? Because usually there's subject and object, right? In terms of perception.
Yes. So in the dream state, the subject of experience is the ego. So we are under the illusion in the dream state that it is our ego that sees, feels. The truth is it's basically the artificial construct of the mind that just talks a lot, right? So when we realize ourselves as consciousness, we actually realize we have been consciousness all along, and the ego itself have been arising in consciousness. So in the natural state, both the vision, for example, the mountain, and the ego, what's left of it, arise in consciousness. But in the dream state, we're under the illusion that it's actually the ego that sees the mountain. So it can be very kind of crazy from the perspective of the ego, right? So from the perspective ego, enlightenment is death, but because it goes away. But it's not real death. It all happens in the mind. It has nothing to do with the body. The body survives as just fine. All the senses become much more pleasurable, and in a direct experience. But the ego inhabits this internal world, and then it kind of lies to you. It deceits because it tries to hide from you. See, it doesn't want to be seen by you. So it lies to you. It actually pretends to be the one that controls the body. It pretends to be the one that experiences all those things, and in a continuous, incessant monologue, which pulls all of your attention, right? So it's this elaborate illusion. So and then the enlightenment is the destruction of both the ego and the inner world it inhabits, because they are the reflection of each other. There cannot be an inner world without the ego that inhabits it, because it would be completely useless. And then there cannot be the ego without the inner world that it inhabits. So it's kind of just like a night dream, right? If you're just a character in the night dream and then nothing happens in the night dream, then it's not a dream. It's just nothingness. It's just blackness. You just, there's nothing happening. So you have to create both the universe in which something happens and the character, the subjective persona to which it happens.
Right. And one more thing I was going to say, I just walked a really long park basically. And my experience, it's funny. It's like, from your description, I think I'm self-realized. And so my experience is very interesting. So as I walk through the park, there is profound peace. There's also a little bit of chatter. My mind is still very busy. It seems like there's no mental suffering most of the time, but it's still talking a lot. It's still, sometimes I talk to myself, I narrate, all of this stuff. And then the thing that we were talking about, which is the complete destruction of the inner world, which has not happened yet. So the funny thing is, when I was sitting on the bench and I was just looking, there's just so much peace, but then it seems like there is always a reference back to the psychological self. Meaning it's like, if I, maybe for a second, it's not there. Maybe it's always there. I don't know. But once I kind of look for a few seconds, it seems like it goes like the localizing thing. It's like, maybe I was empty for like half of a second and then back it is again, like, and then there's the chatter. And the other thing that I find incredible is the lack of resistance to all of the negativity that is left in.
Yes.
When I walk past people, I have this issue that I've had for a long time. And I think only today I realized what it was. Every person that walks by me, whether it's a couple, it's a man, it doesn't matter who it is, immediately I feel a little bit of discomfort. And I used to think it was just fear. I mean, obviously it's fear. But when I let myself actually say what my ego wanted to say, so let's say somebody was behind me. There's something about that I don't like when people are kind of, I can hear their steps. And what came out, I actually started swearing silently. And I was like, I hate that you're walking behind me, and F you, F you, F you. And once I did that, I also realized that there's a fear of connecting with people. And by that energy that I felt before that I couldn't understand is this hatred. And the hatred is literally, I'm going to reject you first so that I don't get hurt. And if I reject you first, then I won, basically. The ego won.
Yep.
And so that's what's fascinating. I actually made a video today, like that self-realization is definitely not the end of the ego. There's so much. But it's incredible that, like an actor, you can play anything. And there's no resistance. So it's like, and one more thing that I realized was, back when I believed that there was like energy, meaning other people's energy and dark energy, and I was so, the level of suppression was so absolute that I had no clue that I actually, when the emotions tried to arise, these emotions today, the hatred, they were so suppressed that they felt like energy, and they actually felt far away.
Yes. And they also felt like it was coming from something outside of you.
Yes.
Yes, but that's not true.
Attacking you.
Yeah. Like someone is literally attacking their energy onto you, like they're projecting their energy onto you, but that's actually not true. It's your energy.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's super obvious from the perspective of the reason. Like, you feel it. It means it's yours. You feel it. It's not like they came and like hit you or something, right? But they said something, or sometimes you just look at the photograph and you feel it. And yet you claim that they giving you so they comes up with all like sort of strange ideas, like all this energy, like the photographs are now already oozing energy, so you come up with all sorts of absurd things just not to own it, because it's very painful to own it.
And
you can even kind of roughly define self-realization. And by the way, what you described, I just wanted to like really quickly say, what you described is completely normal. It was the same for me, right? So this chatter, as you can also notice about what this chatter is about, right? If you will notice that the chatter that will kind of later dissolve on the spiritual path is is always about yourself, others, your relationship to them, and it's repetitive. It's kind of circular. So it means that something needs to be felt, something needs to be processed. And what you did in allowing yourself to actually express this hatred as an inner monologue and experience this hatred is exactly what needs to happen. So after self-realization, even when you're in a state of this abiding awareness, you're always conscious, you're always witnessing. There's a lot of people like that. But after the realization, what is actually needs to happen is the ego needs to play itself out. It needs to actually experience all of its suppressed anger, resentment, hopes, despair, all of that to for a very profound and deep silence and satisfaction to dawn. It doesn't mean that the mind is always silent in the completely light state. You can still think about stuff, but you don't think about your pain. Basically, that's the reason. Because that's the difference. Because there is no more of it, right? To the extent that we think about our discomfort or displeasure is the extent to which it has not been yet felt. So lowering the resistance to all the negative emotions is a very, very important step of the journey. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and in fact, we can even define self-realization as the understanding, as the final kind of admission that all this energy is your energy and you will have to deal with it all. So that when you stop disowning things, right? Before that, you can be kind of awake in a sense that you connected to spirit. There's some connection to God or whatnot. You can call it by many names, but you still say, okay, this is me. This is not me. Someone made me feel that, but in truth, no.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up. So just the funny thing,
Oh, that's it. I haven't finished actually.
The classic example is when people are blaming is the mall that's full of people, and it's like, oh, it's overwhelming, and the energy is like, and I can remember when I was like that, and so it's absolutely incredible to see that if I go to the mall, there I feel absolutely nothing, except it feels very internal. If there's anything, it's internal.
Yes.
It used to be this overwhelming, people's energy is overwhelming. So yeah, that's unbelievable to me.
Yeah, beautiful. Nice going, my friend. Good for you. Good for you. There's such profound depth of peace and gratitude and satisfaction with this life that can be reached in this path. It's unbelievable how profound it is.
I could have never dreamed of this.
Yeah. There are two things that we cannot imagine in the separate state. The first of all is how deeply beautiful and amazing the life experience can be, and secondly, we also usually, unfortunately, it's another side of the same coin, is that we cannot even imagine how much suppressed suffering we usually carry in the separate state.
Mm-hmm.
And that's at the same time very tragic, but also extraordinarily inspiring. And so there's a lot to look forward to. So anyone who is listening right now, a lot to look forward to, even if you're suffering right now tremendously, even if it feels like this is never going to end, even if it feels like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Know that your suffering is not in vain. Don't do anything stupid. Never hurt yourself. Keep practicing, keep meditating. There will be a time when you will be amazed at the beauty of your experience, and you will be grateful even for the suffering that you have experienced beforehand.
Yeah, and it's so funny. I want to share one more thing. As I'm speaking to you, it's probably your effect. I don't know what it is, because if I speak to anyone, usually there's very little fear, and once I start speaking for the first 30 seconds, all fear is gone. Now I think it's starting to calm down, but the entire time my heart rate, and this doesn't happen to anybody else. So it's funny. Yeah, I guess it's I don't know what it is, your eyes or something. I don't know.
It probably, yeah. By the way, this is also a good illustration to why I'm saying the physical presence is so important. Just notice the kind of dynamic of this conversation. Nothing's happening, right? I'm not criticizing Steve in any way, right? I'm not belittling him. I'm not talking to him condescendingly, right? I congratulate him. I can relate to him. Like, it's a very pleasant conversation. And yet, you see, and yet there's this fear, there's this anxiety that's coming up. You see?
I even feel it in my lips. It's like almost quivering.
Yeah, so that's basically kind of the effect of the deeper presence. So what happens here is basically it's very simple. It's nothing but just in this conversation, even if it's like very pleasant and like normally flowing, or even if we just sat in front of each other in silence and just looking at each other's eyes, the whatever is left of the ego, whatever is left of the suppressed suffering of the deceit, is simply getting seen better. That's all that's happening by the other person, right? So even if like we just sit in front of each other and just I would just look at Steve in silence, everything that's happening is in Steve's mind. The remaining of his ego is becoming more apparent, and so the fear comes, and other things come, and also kind of how the expectations that the mind places. Like, for example, I have a lot of students that are afraid to speak to me because the mind is constantly, the mind is so abused, the mind is so predicting and picturing all of the scenario, how I'm going to disapprove them of that, or because that's what they used to. But then when they speak to them, this invariably doesn't happen, and they kind of get a exposed to, okay, what were all these stories? I made myself stories again about how like this person doesn't like me, right? And then they get a deeper exposure into how abusive their own mind is, and they begin to cry. So there's a very deep value in interacting with a teacher, and the more intimate the interaction is, the better. And the value is that you get to see more how your mind operates, and you get to experience more of your own suppressed emotions and energies.
And I want to share one more thing that I actually have been doing consciously as we've been speaking. Last time that I spoke to you, which was the last live, I watched myself and I noticed I was a people pleaser my entire life. And I worked through all of that. I had to face so many fears with that. But there was a little bit left, and it's still here, the tiniest bit left, which is I noticed how much, especially with you, I was nodding and nodding, but I could feel excessively. And so I said to myself, let me try again. And I'm going to, the worst part is, if you look up, this is with anybody. So if you're thinking and you're looking up, I'm fine. There's no need to nod. But the moment that you give me eye contact, or I'm looking at your eye, that is the moment that I think I feel, if I don't do it, danger. And that's why there was the nodding. And when I was doing the nodding, there was not much fear as there is now. So I've been doing it this whole time, even though I nodded a few times, but for me, it feels like I haven't nodded almost at all. And I think that made it even more powerful, because it's you. And also I have this little coping mechanism, which is to keep nodding a million times. And I've been kind of forcing myself just to see. And so I think that's really part of the discomfort, because it's hard when you have this, it's all pain. And I'm afraid that if I don't nod, it's almost like, I don't know, you would say, give me your attention, right? Or something like that.
And another great example, by the way, a great example. So thank you very much for showing up, for being so honest and open about it. This is, I think this will be inspiring for many people. So great example of how you can notice something in yourself, how you do something excessively out of the impulse of people pleasing, and it also can be good practice to stop it and see what happens. And even though the environment is safe, I would never tell you, why aren't you nodding enough at me, but you can feel how the fear arises, the conditioned fear. That's the conditioning. So in the spiritual transformation, and I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to also everybody else, because it's such a great example. So on the spiritual transformation, we're dealing with the fear of the past. So if we were afraid not to please people before, we needed to constantly kind of conform to their expectations of us, then when you're speaking to someone who doesn't have any expectations of you, it is much easier to explore this expectation. But by the way, it doesn't have to be with me. So to anyone who's watching, you can do the same thing with other people. If you notice it in yourself that you, for example, you're not excessively, tries to stop and see what happens. So experiment not only with where the consciousness goes, but experiment also with your behavior. If the environment is safe, try to say no once in a while. If you cannot say no, if you feel like you cannot say no, try to behave differently, basically, in your life, and see what happens, see what it arises in you.
Okay, thank you so much, Artem. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. It was a beautiful, a great illustration. So thank you.
Always a pleasure.
I really appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye. All right, so we have a few. Okay. Colorowe just says, I can relate to Steve a lot. Also, since the trip, I enjoy the negative emotion state. Yes, wonderful. That's a very good milestone. So sooner or later, you begin to enjoy negative emotions because they also use a part of your life. This is like a background joy to be alive, kind of. Yes. The joy of being alive. That's what actually deep presence is. It's just the joy of being alive. It wasn't as pronounced before, but all the negative stuff is still there. Really strange. Yeah, well, it's still there. It's still there. It needs to. It's a long journey. It needs more of your love and attention. It's like a miracle to me. I suffered so much. Beautiful. I am very happy. Andrew says, so Veronica says, very beautiful conversation with Steve. I couldn't agree more. Andrew says, do you have any experience with schizophrenic students and how to deal with schizophrenia? Actually, I do. So I have quite a few students who went through psychotic episodes and schizophrenic delusions. So schizophrenia is basically you can roughly talk about schizophrenia as when the egoic delusions and the visual auditory manifestations of those delusions are kind of obviously present in the waking state. So in most people, they're not obviously present. So in most people, what is present is the incessant monologue, and that's kind of the extent to which our perception is distorted in the way that we can see. The perception is still distorted, but we can see. So if we're talking about psychotic episodes, if we're talking about schizophrenia, in this case, the perception is distorted in a quite obvious way. And you deal with this generally speaking. So of course, I don't know you, so we'll need to talk. If you want to work with me, again, please schedule a session with me. We need to talk. I need to get to know you better. But generally speaking, just a general advice that you deal with schizophrenic manifestations in the same way that you deal with things in meditation. So if there's an episode of paranoia, it's important to breathe. If they're just to just breathe and stay with the fear, to learn to process the fear without doing anything without acting on it. So the same thing actually with auditory and visual hallucinations, just like in meditations. Basically slow down. The most important advice that I could give to anyone who is going through schizophrenic, psychotic, bipolar, like what have you. There are so many terms to describe it. Those are very difficult experiences. First of all, don't get me wrong, extraordinarily difficult. Like I myself experienced all symptoms of schizophrenia and psychosis in the spiritual path. Really difficult. So first of all, acknowledge that it's really difficult. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you need to fix something immediately, but just acknowledge that, okay, this is a difficult episode. Okay, so you need compassion, you need love, you need to take care of yourself, and most importantly, slow down. Just slow down. Remind yourself that you're safe. You can curve it to a ball if you want to. Get yourself to some some safe place. You can be alone if you want to. You can reach out to someone who's helpful if you need to. I also invite viewers to join my Discord channels where you can ask for help. My Discord server with that has a lot of students who have experience with all sorts of struggles. So you can ask for help if you need to talk to someone who's helpful. Reach out to them. If you'd rather be alone, just slow down. Most importantly, slow down, breathe, remind yourself that you're alive. Look at your hands, feel your breathing, and simply observe the phenomena. Simply observe the phenomena, even if it feels really, really scary, or it feels like you absolutely need to do something. You don't. So just simply watch the mind. It can try to scare you. It can try to tell you all sorts of stuff. But if you just spend enough time with it, and if you simply observe it, then you will start to slowly see that it lies, that it constantly lies. And of course, it's difficult because it is precisely difficult because you believe the lies. But the counterproductive thing of acting on it, like in acting on the lies, you actually make it somewhat more difficult for you to finally see that it was a lie. So, like for example, if you have paranoid episodes where it feels like something's gonna happen, like someone's gonna come and kill you, or like the police is after you, or like something's really bad is happening, and those episodes come to you out of the blue, which is a very common experience on the spiritual path, and also quite common with schizophrenia. Then, if you actually act on it, so if you basically start running away, start doing something, it's somewhat it takes somewhat more time to finally see that it's not true. The reason you start acting on it is precisely because it's very difficult for you to experience the fear in this particular case, in this particular example. So slow down, breathe, and simply become curious, simply become interested about how you feel. That's actually all that's needed. And again, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. No, of course not. And it's not going to be fast either. So it takes continued practice. It takes time. It takes lots of love towards yourself. It takes lots of self-compassion. It takes time. So, and I encourage you to join my Discord. You will certainly find, let me actually post a link real quick. You will certainly find people who will be able to relate to your experience one way or the other, to the symptoms, to the difficulty that you are struggling with. So that's the link. Join the community. Okay, finally, so we have Drake on the line, and yeah, and then I'll finish up to that. Hi, Drake.
Hey, Artem.
Hey.
I was watching your Satsang, and then I decided I wanted to take the opportunity to talk to you. My mind was trying to plan ahead what I was going to say a lot, so I'm just taking a moment to feel some fear and then let what I have to say come up naturally.
Sure thing, take your time.
I'm feeling relatively pretty good today, which is really nice. I went on a hike yesterday, and it was just a really beautiful experience. It was just like all my problems, like outside of outside of like that, like just that they weren't there for a while, and just this like strong feeling of like aliveness, like not even just of myself, but just like that what I was experiencing was just like had this like strong aliveness to it.
Everything is alive.
Yeah, like even like rock is a rock, but like
Yeah.
what, like I don't know, like what it's made up of is like a thing of like aliveness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's really nice. It's interesting though that the ego always has a problem with something, of course.
Mhm.
So now, that I'm feeling good right now, it's bringing up a lot of confusion for me because last week I told my boss that I was going to end my internship early. So now I'm having lots of thoughts of, is that what I really wanted to do? Yeah, it seems when I always make decisions for the future from where I'm at. So when it feels like the world is going to end, it feels like I need to set my whole future for that to happen. And when I feel good, it feels like, oh, I just want to continue this. So, how can I live my life forward as if this is what it's going to be like going forward?
Always trying to plan ahead, right? Always trying to predict the unpredictable.
Yeah.
So that's a good opportunity to just learn to enjoy the moment instead of trying to think about the future.
Yeah.
The future is uncertain.
Yes.
All you know is right now.
Yeah. Yeah. With that being said, I still, yeah, I'm still having these thoughts. If I did continue in my internship, I only have 3 months left. Um, so part of me wants to continue it and to just try and finish it. I talked to someone online on Reddit recently, and they said that they were going through like, the really hard part of this process for 8 years, and I was like, dang, well, if it's like it could be that long for me, or who knows, it could be a lot shorter. But I can't like I feel like maybe I will just need to be able to live my life while going through this. I can't necessarily just put my life on hold. Um, so I feel like maybe I do want to try and finish my internship. Um,
What does your intuition tell you? What feels right? What are you moved to do?
I think right now, like part of there's resistance to going back to it because my ego wants to be like, oh, like you told them that you're gonna stop, so now you need to do that. So now you need to do what you said you're gonna do. Um, like when I feel good like this, I just want to enjoy my life. I don't feel like, oh, like I need to, bring up more fear and process this and get through it fast. I just want to enjoy like my life right now. And like when I am feeling good, like I do like really enjoy my internship. Like I like it a
Mm.
lot. Um, like it's the best job I've ever had, and like I feel like that is what I would like to do in the future, as be a software engineer. I think the resistance to doing the internship is that I feel like, oh, if I continue that, then I'm kind of trapped in having to go in 5 days a week. So I think I do want to continue doing it, but I want to give myself even more total freedom to not go in on days that I don't feel good.
So maybe you can arrange some. I mean, maybe you can talk about some kind of arrangement where you work from home, maybe at least 1 or 2 days a week, or maybe you try to work from the office every day, but then from time to time, like you can explain to your boss that from time to time, like due to a mental health situation, it's difficult to do that, and you would like a permission to work from home on these days.
Yeah, and I have talked to him 2 times, kind of about my situations. Just I told him I have existential fear that comes and goes in waves, and sometimes it can't work. And when I told him that I wanted to basically quit, he said that he was really willing to work with me. So
He was what?
he was willing to work with me, and he said we
Oh,
can
that's great.
less hours, less days work. The thing is that it's not like the fear comes when it comes, so it's kind of
Yeah,
hard to like plan ahead a
unpredictable.
specific schedule.
Yeah.
So I feel like, and I've only talked to him over text about this, but I feel like I kind of want to talk to him in person and say, I made that decision, and I do feel like will need to take off from social, commitments at some point in my life in the future. But I think that I would like to try and complete this internship. And for me, I think what I need to do that is to just have the freedom to come in when I am able to work, and have the freedom to stay home when I'm not able to work, and just say, what do you think about that?
I think that's a good idea. An honest conversation is always a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do.
All right. Well, thank you for joining. I'm very happy that you enjoy it. Every time you find yourself in this kind of beautiful enjoyment, just sink into it. Sink into it. Just let yourself really enjoy it. I know it's difficult to let. For a lot of people, it's very difficult to just let ourselves enjoy. Just let ourselves enjoy. We always need to worry. We can't let our guard down. We can't drop it. We must, but just enjoy. Just enjoy.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for coming, my friend.
Yeah, nice to see you, Artem. Thanks for talking with me.
Nice to see you too. All right. Yes. So that concludes our Satsangs today. So once again, please consider joining our retreat on April 25th, 28th. Please like, subscribe, share this video, and if you can, please support our work. We really need your support. So anything helps. Like even if you can only support me on Patreon for like $5 a month or something like that, $10 a month. If you're from some other country, then the Western world, like even $1 a month, anything helps at this point as I'm trying to build my ability to my income, my ability to teach full time. So please come to my Discord server, schedule one-on-one meetings with me. I hope that this was a useful conversation for you, and I'll see you soon. I'll see you in a couple of weeks on YouTube in another public satsang in a couple of weeks. The next Sunday is going to be private satsang for my student on my Discord server. By the way, when you join the Discord server, read the welcome channel and make sure that you're following the instructions there. All right. Well, bye, guys. Love you all. Thank you all for coming. Best of luck to you on the spiritual path.